Well, you know.
Poised to release yet another box set. London to Vegas is its name. It is set for release on April 24th on Blu-ray, DVD, and CD. It features two concert films, Hysteria at the O2 from 2018 in London, and Hits Vegas Live at Planet Hollywood, taken from their Vegas residency last year. The latter one, according to the press release I have right here, will feature a bunch of rarities in their set. There's also behind-the-scenes footage and a mini documentary, too, in this upcoming box set.
Def Leppard, incredibly active, have been for a while now, touring, releasing things. I mean, it's amazing what those guys are doing right now, this juncture in their career, and much of it is very good. The thing I'm personally looking most forward to for Def Leppard releases is this set coming out called The Early Years, which is long overdue remastered versions of the first two records and a bunch of early concert stuff and all that. I love, I'm a Pyromania back. I'm a first three albums Def Leppard guy. Not for a minute to say there's not stuff later in their career that I don't like. Of course there is, but my gosh, the 1-2-3 punch, especially the 2-3 punch of High and Dry and Pyromania. Those High and Dry is my favorite Def Leppard record. So excited for that early years box set. And Joe told me that there was a concert from their very first tour that's going to be included in that box set.
There is.
That is, that he said he thought sounded really good. So excited about that.
Well, on top of that, he also pointed out, he punctuated it with that even though it's a good set, it's a great set, but no alterations were done to it. It is a warts and all live piece.
Sure. Yeah, it's 40 years old. I mean, they're not going to go in and try to mess with that. No. So that's what makes those recordings so great.
Well, speaking of upcoming live sets, Mick Fleetwood's massive Peter Green tribute went off the other night, successful Tuesday at London's Palladium. The charity benefit featured appearances by David Gilmour, Steven Tyler, Neil Finn, Pete Townsend, Billy Gibbons, Christine McVie, Bill Wyman, Kirk Hammett, Noel Gallagher, and more. I'm very stoked because Kirk Hammett played on the Green Manalishi. That's right. It was originally a Fleetwood Mac song long before it was covered by Judas Priest. The oft-tortured Peter Green was the driving force behind the original version of Fleetwood Mac. That show will be turned into a box set, reportedly to be released this October.
Yeah, I talked to Kirk Hammett before he went over and did that. We were in touch, and he was really excited about it. People that aren't aware of the Peter Green era of Fleetwood Mac, radically different than what the Fleetwood Mac that we know in the U.S. from rumors and all that was. It was a completely different. It was a blues-based sort of hard rock band, not really hard rock, but rock band, and very influential. And I know Kirk Hammett was incredibly excited about going over there and doing that and Peter Green, super, super influential. Obviously, just look at the names that went over there and did that. So that's very cool.
And he's very much, if you don't know a lot about him, do the research. He is one of those classic rock music characters to a T. I believe I know the lore was, there was a story reportedly someone went to arrive at his residence with a royalties check, and he met them with a gun and tried to scare them away. Crazy.
Sounds like him and Ginger Baker would have been a good band together.
Very much along the lines of a Ginger Baker type.
For sure.
And one final thing I have today, Daryl Bobby Tongs Arnberger, if I'm getting that right, a close friend of the late Dimebag Daryl Abbott of Pantera and Damage Plan, reveals in a recent interview he did with the podcast Landry Audio that in the time before Dimebag's murder in 2004, he had confessed to him that he was actually contemplating ending that band, wrapping things up with Damage Plan, and expressing an interest, a desire to reform Pantera. He said of Damage Plan, which also featured Daryl's brother, the now late Vinnie Paul as well, via Daryl's comments here, he didn't think the other guys were as into it. He obviously didn't feel the magic as much as he did with the other two guys, referring to Pantera members Phil Anselmo and Rex Brown. Unfortunately, that would never come to be, as Daryl was killed by a deranged fan in December of 2004.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. I think that there would have been a Pantera reunion would have been inevitable had that tragic murder not taken place. Got to remember here, man. I mean, we talk about the business all the time, and it's an enormous part of why things happen. And Damage Plan were playing tiny places. The place where Dime was murdered is a very small club. So, I mean, just stands to it's just logic that if you're out there playing and your band is just kind of at that level, but oh yeah, if I go back to my other band, suddenly I'm going to be playing to 3, 4, 5, 6,000 people and up in beautiful venues and festivals and stadiums. I mean, of course you're going to go back to that at some point. I mean, that's why all of these guys today that do these side bands, they're never going to go anywhere. All of these side project bands are never truly going to go anywhere because they can't and won't make any real commitment to establishing them and working them. You know, every day you hear about, we talked about this with Jeff Pilson when he was on Monday, because he's got one too. I mean, he's put out a bunch of them. Everyone's going to go to where their bread is buttered, and I can't blame them. So even if you try to do something different, your audience from your main band, most do not come over for whatever reason. And the allure of going back to making great money and playing in great venues is significant. All right. Thank you, Ed. I want to mention this again, too, before we have to break and get Randy in here. So